For 100 years, everyone believed the same story about Stonehenge's central stone. New research just closed off the last explanation that could excuse ancient Britain from the achievement: nature. Advanced computer modeling confirms a 6-ton stone crossed nearly the length of the country with no ice, no wind, no chance involved. Someone did that on purpose, long before the wheel reached Britain. At the center of Stonehenge, beneath 2 collapsed sarsens, lies a slab of sandstone unlike anything else in the monument. 6 tons, 16 feet long, flat, deliberate, positioned at the heart of the horseshoe of stones that gives Stonehenge the shape almost everyone recognizes on sight, even people who have never stood near it. For more than 100 years, archaeologists filed the altar stone under a story they thought was already finished. Stonehenge's bluestones, the smaller standing stones ringed around the center, came from the Preseli Hills in West Wales. That much had been established since the 1920s. The altar stone sat among them, roughly similar in size, and so it inherited the same label almost by default. Welsh. Case closed. Nobody tested that assumption very hard because nobody had a strong reason to. Geologists eventually did. Rob Ixer, Richard Bevans, and Nick Pierce, 3 researchers who have spent decades tracing the origins of Stonehenge's stones, began looking more closely at what the altar stone was actually made of. Sandstone, not the volcanic rock that makes up the true bluestones. Wrong mineral composition for anywhere in the Preseli region. In 2022 and 2023, their work started casting real doubt on the Welsh origin. Doubt serious enough that some researchers stopped calling it a bluestone entirely, which left an uncomfortable gap where a settled fact used to sit. If the altar stone did not come from Wales, where did the builders of Stonehenge actually find it? Why place a stone from somewhere else entirely at the exact geometric center of the whole structure? The Welsh bluestones themselves had a much more thoroughly documented history. Geologist H. Thomas first traced them to the Preseli Hills back in 1923, and decades later, archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson's team went further still, pinpointing the actual quarry faces at Rosifellen and Carn Godog, where Neolithic workers had levered stone directly out of the rock. Tool marks, wedge scars, a precise physical point of origin researchers could stand inside. The altar stone had nothing like that. No quarry face, no tool marks anyone had linked to it. Only a growing certainty, built from mineral chemistry, that Wales was the wrong country entirely. By early 2024, that question sat open, unresolved, quietly undermining a century of textbook certainty. It would not stay open for long. In 2024, a research team led by Anthony Clark at Curtin University, working alongside Aberystwyth University and University College London, set out to answer the question Wales could no longer answer. Their method: read the internal clock hidden inside the stone itself. Grains of zircon, apatite, and rutile trapped within the altar stone carry ages written into them at the moment they crystallized, some over 1 billion years old, others closer to 450 million. Every region of Britain carries its own combination of these ages, its own geological signature, as distinct as a fingerprint. Match the signature, and the source reveals itself. The team compared the altar stone's mineral fingerprint against sandstone formations across the entire country. One match. Only one. The Orcadian Basin, in the far northeast of Scotland, a region stretching across the tip of the Scottish mainland and into the Orkney Islands. Roughly 750 kilometers from Salisbury Plain, where Stonehenge has stood for 5,000 years. The 3 minerals told slightly different parts of the story. The zircon grains carried ages stretching back over 1 billion years, into the Mesoproterozoic and Archean eons, ages tied to some of the oldest rock in Britain. The rutile and apatite grains told a younger story, dominated by material from the mid-Ordovician period, roughly 450 million years back. Both age populations, layered together in the same sample, matched one place and one place only. Researchers believe the altar stone likely arrived at Stonehenge during the monument's second major construction phase, sometime between 2620 and 2480 BC, placed within the horseshoe of towering sarcens that still frames it today. Whoever positioned it there had already completed the hardest part of the job. The stone had made its journey long before it ever reached its final resting place at the center of the circle. Published in Nature in August of that year, the finding rippled through the archaeological community fast. University of Exeter archaeologist Susan Graney, who had no part in the study, said plainly that it came as a surprise the stone had traveled so far. For 100 years, the Old Welsh assumption had quietly narrowed everyone's imagination of what Neolithic Britain was capable of doing. This result broke that ceiling in one motion. It meant a 6-ton stone had somehow crossed almost the entire length of the country, thousands of years before the wheel reached Britain, thousands of years before anything resembling a formal road existed anywhere on the island. And underneath the excitement of the discovery sat a harder, more uncomfortable question, one the Nature paper could not fully answer on its own. Did people really carry that stone the whole way? Or did something else do part of the work for them? Ice. That was the explanation that could make the discovery far less impressive than it first sounded. During the last ice age, glaciers scraped across the length of Britain, dragging boulders for enormous distances and dropping them wherever the ice eventually melted. If a glacier had picked up a slab of Orcadian sandstone somewhere in Scotland and hauled it south, the Neolithic builders never needed to move the altar stone at all. They simply found it already sitting nearby, delivered by forces with no intention behind them whatsoever. That possibility could not be waved away with a shrug. It had to be tested properly. In 2026, the same curtain-led team, now working with researchers from Sheffield Hallam University, the University of Sheffield, Wessex Archaeology, and the University of Bristol, built detailed computer models simulating the ice sheets that once buried Britain. The goal was straightforward and unforgiving. Run the last ice age forward inside the model and check whether any realistic glacial path could have carried Scottish rock all the way south into England. The models produced a partial answer, and it mattered enormously. Glaciers could plausibly have dragged rock from the Orcadian region part of the way. As far as Dogger Bank, a stretch of what is now open sea between Britain and mainland Europe, dry land during the Ice Age itself. The models worked by simulating how ice sheets grew, flowed, and retreated across Britain during the last glacial period, then tracking where the ice would plausibly have carried loose rock along the way. It is the same basic approach used to explain scattered boulders found far from their origin all across northern Europe. Rock dragged for miles by ice that later melted and left its cargo behind. Dogger Bank sits nowhere near Stonehenge, not close, not even in the same direction as the final leg of the journey. It is dry land no longer. The area drowned beneath what is now the North Sea thousands of years ago, but during the Ice Age it stood as open ground, connecting Britain to mainland Europe, ground a glacier could plausibly have crossed. According to Dr. Clark, the modeling showed no realistic glacial route linking the Scottish source region directly to southern England. Whatever ground separated Dogger Bank from Salisbury Plain, ice was never the one who closed that gap. Someone else was. So picture what remained once the ice was ruled out of the equation entirely. A 6-ton stone. No wheels in confirmed use anywhere in Neolithic Britain. No domesticated draft animals suited to hauling that kind of weight. No roads. Just rivers, coastline, forest, hill country, and several hundred kilometers of unpredictable terrain sitting between a quarry somewhere in the far north and a construction site on Salisbury Plain. Clark's team believes the stone likely moved in stages, combining overland hauling with transport by river or along the coast, wherever the landscape allowed it. Not a single heroic push carried out by one determined group. A sustained, coordinated effort carried out by people who understood the terrain well enough to choose the easiest available path through it, and who trusted each other enough to see a task through that may have taken far longer than any single lifetime. Clark described the achievement without softening it. He said the transport demanded planning, coordination, and a depth of understanding of the landscape that history has rarely credited late Neolithic Britain with possessing. There is no ancient map, no written itinerary, no surviving record of the actual route these people chose. The precise path the altar stone traveled from Scotland to Salisbury Plain remains unknown today. Researchers can now rule out what did not happen. They cannot yet fully reconstruct what did. What the modeling proved is narrower than a full answer, and in some ways more remarkable because of it. The easy explanation is gone. What remains demanded exactly the kind of coordinated ambition nobody expected from a civilization without writing, wheels, or metal tools. Neolithic Britain was not, however, a landscape cut off from the water. Communities in Orkney and along Scotland's coasts were already crossing open channels by the same period, moving people, livestock, and goods between islands that had no land bridge connecting them. Timber-framed hide boats and hollowed log vessels, though none survive intact from this era, are the leading candidates archaeologists point to for how such crossings happened at all. A journey combining those coastal skills with overland hauling along river valleys, using log rollers, sledges, and enormous teams working in relays, is not a stretch of the imagination. It is, at minimum, the only kind of effort left standing once the ice sheet models ruled out an easier way. If the altar stone traveled that distance through human effort alone, it was not an isolated stunt performed by one unusually determined community. It fits a pattern archaeologists have been assembling from entirely different directions for years. Bones excavated from late Neolithic sites in southern England carry chemical signatures that do not match local livestock. Some of those animals likely originated as far north as Scotland. Pottery styles and house designs from the same period turn up in strikingly similar forms at sites separated by hundreds of kilometers, too similar to explain as coincidence between isolated groups who never had contact. Livestock, pottery, building design, a 6-ton stone. Take the pottery specifically. Archaeologists have long traced a style known as grooved ware, distinctive flat-bottomed pots decorated with incised geometric patterns, back to origins in Orkney, at the northern tip of Scotland. From there, the style spread south across Britain during the very centuries Stonehenge was under construction, showing up in ceremonial sites hundreds of kilometers from where it began. A pottery tradition and a 6-ton stone, both making the same unlikely journey, north to south, during the same narrow window of time. Different categories of evidence entirely, all converging on the same conclusion from separate directions. Late Neolithic Britain was not a scattering of isolated communities who happened to build similar things by chance. Cardiff University archaeologist Alasdair Whittle has argued that the Scottish origin of the altar stone adds real weight to a growing body of evidence pointing toward long-distance connection between communities across the British Isles. Some researchers have gone further still, proposing that Stonehenge itself may have been built specifically to demonstrate that connection to the people who built it. Not a monument to any single region's power or wealth, but a shared undertaking, drawing materials, and very likely people from across the length of the island, as a deliberate act of unity among farming communities who had every practical reason to remain separate and distrustful of each other. If that theory holds, the altar stone was never simply construction material hauled south for convenience. It was the point the builders were making, laid at the exact center of the monument for anyone who understood what it represented. For all that the last 2 years of research settled, one piece of the story remains stubbornly open. Nobody has identified the exact quarry the altar stone came from. The Orcadian Basin covers a wide stretch of northeast Scotland, and the mineral fingerprint narrows the search without finishing it. Researchers know the region with confidence. They do not yet know the precise outcrop where Neolithic hands first worked the stone loose from the ground. Nor do they know, with any certainty, which combination of routes the stone actually followed heading south. Overland in stages where the terrain cooperated, along rivers where the current ran the right direction, by coastal waters where the sea proved faster than the land. Possibly all three, at different points along a journey that may have unfolded across years, not weeks. The computer modeling closed off what nature could not have done. It did not hand researchers a finished map of what people did instead. Clark's team has said the next phase of the work is aimed directly at that gap, locating the precise source in Scotland and mapping the routes prehistoric people may have used to move a piece of it across a country that, until recently, almost nobody believed was capable of a project this ambitious. That next phase means fieldwork across a wide stretch of the Orcadian Basin, sampling outcrop after outcrop, comparing each one against the mineral fingerprint locked inside the fragments already recovered from Stonehenge. It is slow, methodical work, the kind that rarely produces a single dramatic headline. It produces something else instead. One outcrop ruled out, then another. The search narrowing year by year toward a hillside somewhere in northeast Scotland that has not been identified yet, but will not stay unidentified forever. The search for where this journey began is still running. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more ancient mysteries and impossible discoveries.